I will provide an overview about what's new and what's changed in DB2 versions post 9.7. So you will get a basic understanding about what you're going to learn in the upcoming lectures. So let's start with the DB2 versions. So DB2 has been continuously improved to provide unmatched performance, security, scalability, and reliability for any size of organization. And these improvements come in the form of version upgrades. So here is a list of all the versions released for DB2 9, 10, and 11 series databases, along with the number of fix packs that were shipped for each of them. So as you can see, post 9.7, we have 4 DB2 versions released, and they are 9.8, 10.1, 10.5, and the latest, that is 11.1. Now with every new version, we get new features and functionalities that are introduced to complement the current industry requirements, as well as the existing DB2 features are improved for performance and fine-tuned for better productivity. Now, as DB2 versions are released every couple of years and older versions become outdated, IBM starts withdrawing the official support for older versions. And this may be seen as an indication to enterprises that they should probably upgrade their DB2 versions. Now, while you may still choose to continue with the older version, it will just work fine as before, just that the IBM official support won't be available for that version. As you can see over here that the end of support for 9.7 and 10.1 has been announced, and it's pretty near now. So enterprises running these DB2 versions would probably upgrade to version 10.5 or 11. Now let's look at what changes when a new DB2 version is released. So there are new features that are introduced that are not a part of the previous version, and the existing functionalities are improved, and some features are also marked as deprecated, meaning that the particular feature present in the current version is most likely be removed or discontinued in the upcoming releases. So there may be a feature that was present in the previous version and is discontinued in the current version. An example of that would be that all GUI tools that you have worked with in 9.7, such as Control Center, Command Editor, Configuration Assistant, and others, were marked as deprecated in version 9.8. That means the tools were present in version 9.8 but was intended to be removed or discontinued in the future releases. And in version 10.1, all these GUI tools are completely removed and replaced with just one GUI tool that is known as Data Studio. So we have lectures on Data Studio that will cover. So as new features are added to DB2, there are new configuration parameters added to the DBM and DBCFG files. So if any new feature is added to a particular version, then to control some aspects of that feature, IBM gives us some parameters with the help of which we will be able to control those new features in some way. So we'll discuss those new configuration parameters as well. And sometimes the default values of some configuration parameters and registry variables are changed for certain feature enhancements. Now, while I have covered most of the important changes after 9.7 in this course, in the lectures that are upcoming, if you still wish to explore more, you can visit the IBM DB2 Knowledge Center. That is an online library where you can find every detail about each and every feature of DB2 for whatever version you choose to. So from a drop-down list over here, you will get all these different versions of DB2, and you can select a version and you can go deep inside that and learn more about individual features in details. So the link is present over here, or you can search for it on Google as well. Now let us summarize the features that were introduced in each of these versions post 9.7. I'm not going to talk about each of these features in details because this is just an introduction, but we will be covering most of these features in details in the upcoming lectures. So basically, the upcoming lectures are based on all these new features that were not present in 9.7, and they came up with all of these individual versions that were post 9.7. So to start off with the next version, that is 9.8, there was just one new feature that was introduced, and it is known as the DB2 Pure Scale feature that is available for Enterprise Server Edition of DB2. Now, PureScale is a distributed data server solution where you can have multiple database servers connected with each other to support distributed transactional environments. So this was the feature that was introduced in 9.8. Then when we move to version 10.1, we get to see a lot of new features such as adaptive compression, which is a way to achieve better compression of table data for performance and storage optimization. We have row and column level access control, or RCAC. This is a security feature that is used to control the data access at row and column level in a better way. Then we have storage groups that were introduced as a layer between the database and the table spaces to support multi-temperature data storage. Now with multi-temperature storage, you can segregate your hot, warm and cold data and store them on different types of storage devices. For example, the data that is most recent and most frequently accessed can be stored on faster drives such as solid state drives or SSDs, while warm data can be stored on normal hard drives, and cold data that is rarely needed can be stored on tape drives. So this way you are able to utilize your storage infrastructure in a more efficient and a performant way. Then we have time travel queries that help us to go back in time and have a look at the data as it was in the past. Now this has a lot of audit advantages. Then we have ITC tables, or insert time clustering tables, that provide an effective way of maintaining data clustering and easier management of space utilization. Now because of these new features, you may also find new configuration parameters that are added to the DBM and DBCFG file to control some aspects of these features, and we'll look into that as well. In 9.7, if you have completed the lectures on HADR, that is high availability disaster recovery, you find that only one standby server can be configured for a primary database server. You cannot have multiple standby servers for a primary database server. Now this restriction has been relaxed in version 10.1. That means now you can have multiple standby servers to take up the workload of the primary database server if it goes down. So this is an enhancement to HADR that came in version 10.1. And then, as I said, that the GUI tools that were present in 9.7 and 9.8, that is the control center, command line editor, configuration assistant, all these GUI tools were deprecated in version 9.8 and are discontinued in version 10.1. That means you will not be able to find control center in 10.1. Instead, you will have to work with another GUI tool that is a replacement for those GUI tools, that is known as IBM Data Studio, that we'll discuss. Moving on to version 10.5. Version 10.5 came with just two new features, and they are column organized tables and BLU acceleration. So these two features are new to 10.5 and they were not present in version 10.1. Moving on to version 11.1, which is the latest as of May 2017, a security feature was added to provide better encryption management for our databases. And few enhancements were also made, like column organized table support that was introduced in version 10.5 was also made available for partitioned database environments. Earlier it was only available for non-partitioned databases in version 10.5. Then existing features were also enhanced for performance. Now with all these features and enhancements, we certainly have to upgrade our skills so as to keep up with the latest in DB2. But how should we go about this? Now shall we first start working on 9.8 to learn about PureScale, then install 10.1 to learn about all these new features that were introduced in 10.1, and then move to 10.5 and then move to 11.1. Now this seems a bit complicated and a time and effort consuming way to go about the upgrade. So we won't follow this path. Now the good thing about DB2 is that features introduced in one version are usually carried forward to multiple future versions. For example, PureScale that was introduced in version 9.8 is carried forward to version 10.1. Similarly, all the new features that were introduced in 10.1 are also carried forward to version 10.5. And the same way, all the features that are introduced in 10.5 are carried forward to version 11.1. Plus all the enhancements that are brought from version 9.8 to version 10.1, 10.5, and the enhancements that were introduced in version 11.1. So that means if we install DB2 11.1 directly, we will be able to work with pure scale. We will be able to work with adaptive compression and all these features that were a part of 10.1. We will be able to work with column organized tables and BLU acceleration. And we will be able to work with enterprise encryption key management and all the enhancements that came with all these versions. So we don't really need to install 9.8 and then upgrade to 10.1 and so on. So if we install version 11.1, as I said, that we will be able to work with all the features that are coming from 9.8, 10.1 and 10.5. But I will start with installing 10.1 first and then upgrade to 11.1 directly. Now why I'm doing this is simply because I also want you to understand the version upgrade process. Now this is a task that might come handy when you are asked to perform a version upgrade in a real environment. That's it guys, let me summarize this lecture for you. So as I said that if we work with 11.1, we will have all the features of 9.8, 10.1, 10.5 and 11.1. And it's important for you to keep referring to the IBM Knowledge Center for DB2 to get more detailed information about the various DB2 versions because it's not practically possible for me to cover each and every smaller details when we talk about all these different versions. And in real scenarios, the DBAs do refer to the IBM Knowledge Center to get more and more information on DB2. So please make it a habit that you visit IBM Knowledge Center to learn more about DB2. And the way that we are going to go ahead with the upgrade is to install DB2 version 10.1 and then directly upgrade to version 11.1. So this way you'll learn about the upgrade process, and with version 11.1 we will be able to explore all the features. And everything that we'll do it on a Linux operating system. That's it guys, thank you.